few years ago, I went to a surprise 80th birthday party for a parishioner from St. Patrick's in Ravenna. Everyone was there. All 9 of her children, all 50 million of her grandchildren, a lot of friends. It was such a big party, it had to be held at a firehouse. And I had conversation with person after person about her. And several of her children pulled me aside at different times and said some version of, "Father, there is nothing that little woman can't do. My mother, she's a marvel. I live every day of my life just trying to do a fraction of the faithful job that she did in her life." The story was that their father left the family when they were all still home, all 9 of them. And so to provide for them, she worked nights. And then she took care of them all day long. They do not remember her sleeping. Child after child told me, "We have no memory of our mom sleeping during our childhood." Now, those children are all grown up, and they live all over the country. I think she's got children in every American time zone. But they all still rely on their mother, not to do things for them, but as the example that showed them the way to face challenges. And that is what we're hearing in the gospel today. Jesus says, "I'm leaving, but you know what to do. You know the way." And Thomas speaks up, and we have to love Thomas because he is the one who always says what many of us are thinking. And this time he speaks the most beautifully he ever could. He says, wait a minute. We know the way. We don't even know where you're going. How could we know the way? And Jesus responds with an answer that not only applies to Thomas, it applies to all of us. Jesus looks us in the eye right now and says, "You've never been through coronavirus before, but you know the way." And business owners say, "We don't know the way. We have never faced payroll challenges like this." And Jesus says, "I know you've never faced payroll challenges like this, but you know the way." Government leaders, I know you've never faced 20% unemployment, but you know the way. Hospitals, you've never faced protocols like this, but you know the way. Nursing homes, never have you seen a threat like this one, but you know the way. Teachers, never have you had to overcome challenges to learning like this, but you know the way. I am the way. I'm the way to live. I'm the way to approach challenges. I'm the way to face hardships. When your back is on the mat, I'm the way to get through that. I've showed you. I've showed you how to do it. I am the way. That is very much what those 9 kids of that Ravenna parishioner who had the surprise birthday party said. It is very true that because of who they are now, living in all these different states, leaders in all these different businesses and lifestyles, there's all sorts of things that they are facing that their mother never had to face, in particular. But they look to her because they know how to face those things. She showed them the way. The way you face any challenge is by turning to the way to face all challenges. A lot of us think that what makes a person a good Christian is how well they know the Bible. If you know the Bible by heart, if you can quote things and pull them out and say, that's from Romans, that's from Deuteronomy, then you're a good Christian. And that is a very valuable skill. But I think we can all agree that there are a lot of people we know who are really good at knowing the Bible, but are not the kindest people. They're not the most generous folks in town or the most forgiving. They know their Bible, but there's something missing from the way that they live it. And that's because while knowledge about our faith is really important, and we should never stop striving toward it, that is not the essential way to be the best kind of Christian. On Thursday, I buried a 99-year-old man who died of COVID-19. And his funeral was very small because of what we're going through right now. It was me and his widow, Helen, and her niece. There we were, the three of us, burying him. His wife, Helen, was a remarkable woman. We had a long conversation about his life and about life in general. And she said, you know, Father, now that I'm in my 90s, it's taken me my whole life to learn this, but let me tell you something that I hope other people can learn. She said, I now forgive everybody for everything they've ever done to me. I don't want to hold a grudge against anyone. Whatever it is, no matter how bad, I forgive it. It's gone. And I ask forgiveness for all of the things I ever did that were wrong. She said, my plan now is to leave this world without a single enemy. And I'm going to do what it takes to make sure that I can do that. Helen and I talked about a lot of things that day, and one of the things she told me is that she hadn't been a regular churchgoer for quite a while. And my guess is that she probably doesn't have all the verses of the Bible memorized. And I go to church all the time. But when it comes to forgiving, when it comes to not holding grudges, Helen is a much better Christian than I am. She knows the way. There are times when it's very important and helpful to know the Bible, and one of them is this. If you look through the Bible, you are never going to see a time where Jesus says, worship me. He never says it. Sometimes other people say that about him. They'll say, we should all bend the knee before the name of Jesus. But Jesus himself never says, worship me. But about 1 million times he says, follow me. There are a lot of folks who love worshiping Jesus, but following him is harder. And following him is what counts. We maybe don't need to have every verse memorized. Maybe we don't even need to have the perfect church attendance record, though those things are very valuable and very important. But perhaps if we look at who are the people right now during coronavirus who are part of the solution and not just complaining, if we look at the people who are really making a difference, who are willing to stick their necks out for others, who want to ease people's suffering, who remind us that we're all in this together, those are the ones who know the way. There's a lot of us who know our religion really well, but we don't know the way. And Jesus says, I am the way. Get to know me. Where I'm going, you'll know the way. In that first reading today, we hear exactly how to do that. Because if we want to be like the way that Jesus taught us, there is a prayer that Jesus always said, sometimes in words and sometimes not. What Jesus always said as his prayer was, God, use me. Use me. My life is yours. My death is yours. Use me. Use me however you want. That is a beautiful prayer, and it's a terrible thing to say to another human being. A lot of us have a history of saying that to other people. Use me. But that's a terrible idea. Because they'll hurt you and desert you. They'll take your soul if you let them. Oh yeah, but don't you let them. Don't ever say that to another person. Use me. Bad idea. But say it to God. And in that second reading, we hear that we're supposed to be built into a spiritual house. Let yourselves be built into a spiritual house. Come to God as a living stone. One author says, we need to see ourselves as raw material in the hands of a builder. And God is building. God is building a house of forgiveness and of peace and of compassion and of prayer and of nonviolence and of generosity. You see that house being built if you look. There are many people out there who are saying to God, use me. And God is very wisely and creatively putting their gift to use. It is natural to feel like the world is falling apart. My friend who said, I hit the wall this week, it's because it feels like everything's falling apart. There's like a bulldozer going through our lives right now. But a bulldozer does not exist for destruction. It's part of construction. Bulldozers clear the way so that there can be a space for building. And that is what's going on right now. It looks like we're in the middle of destruction, but we're in the middle of construction. What looks like breakdown, God is using for breakthrough. So you and I are living stones, we hear today. So let's throw ourselves on the stone pile and let God use us and see together just what God is building.